Hey, Stephen Platinum. It's 5:15 in the morning. I'm at one of my many jobs, and I'm actually getting to take a little break for once. Normally I work straight through 9 until 7 in the morning, but I'm getting to take a little bit of a breather and a break, which is nice. Um, Lately I've been thinking about the fact that not this weekend, but the weekend after, I'm going to be at IWE. And I'm really excited about that. Um, and the last time I was there, of course, Joe Black got into it with that fan, and it overshadowed something that happened, which was, I can show you the clips here. That's, me confronting Bryce Cannon, letting him know that I paid for that title belt that he wears so happily, and that it was intended to be the PCW championship. But it's Matt Hankins' company, and he decided he wanted a secondary title, and so that's the one that Bryce Cannon holds. And I think it's kind of appropriate because he is a secondary kind of talent. And so he and I had words back and forth, and to his credit, he anticipated me slapping him, and he stopped it. I stopped the belt shot in retaliation, but then he just started putting it to me, and Zach Mosley quickly jumped in, and it broke down. But right when things were looking horrible, who jumps in? My kids who were with me. Leo jumps on Zach Mosley's back, starts choking him out. Veronica low blows Pepper Bottom. And at that point, Bryce Cannon kind of breaks off and goes after the kids. I've had time to kind of process and think about it. I've watched that video many times. I lived through it, certainly. And I just want everybody to know that Bryce Cannon did not touch my kids, did not hurt my kids. I know a number of people were concerned about that, but he didn't do anything to them. And you know what that tells me? That tells me that I owe him, well, this. Bryce Cannon, you're a pussy. I would have respected you way more if you had gone after my kids. I would have respected you because you say the Exotic Youth are your brothers, they're your family. That's not how family acts. You see, when I got attacked, my kids jumped in, knowing that they were likely to get hurt, knowing that they weren't as physically strong as the people that they were assaulting. But you, when your brothers were being hit by my kids, when I was certainly lurking around and dangerous physically, you didn't do anything to them. I know I'm supposed to think that that makes you a good guy and that makes you noble, but what that tells me is that deep down, you're weak. Now, I'm going to see you in about a week. And the kids love saying stuff like, well, say it to my face. Well, I am going to see you. And I'll say it to your face. That you're a pussy. The question is, what are you going to do about it? My guess is nothing. Just like your chances of holding on to that title that you don't deserve, just like your chances of continued success at IWE. But we're going to find out. See you next weekend. See you on July 9th, pussy.
Steve, you will fall in love with me. You will take me away from this place. Why are you so obsessed with me?
Who I smoke, Lil Leaky. Who I smoke, Big Meaty. Who I smoke, Lil Two I wonder.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
I was so moved. This is how audiences must have felt when they first saw Olivier play Hamlet. Oh, bravo, boys and girls. Bravo. Except for you. You were god-awful.
Ain't nobody talking when I'm talking, fellas, so shut the fuck up.
The dog is barely up.
I'll drop a headlock, got you in the gridlock. Catch me in the back line, I can make the map right. Backdrop, hip toss, abdominal stretch. Now they wondering who we bombing on next, yes.
The dog is barely up.
Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good.
Oh, Stephen, there's one more thing I had to mention.
What is it?
I love you.
The dog is barely up.
They don't give me Papa's credit. I just walk away.
Patos locos forever.
Forever!
Forever.
Full disclosure, news and commentary number 169 and 170. It's a special double-sized issue. I'm currently downloading Cuphead, the delicious last. I'm not sure. What? It's an addition to my kid's favorite game. It's part of Veronica's birthday present. Veronica turned 11. Super awesome. The kids are going to be over later, and I no doubt we're going to Cuphead it up. And that's exciting. I missed last week's full disclosure. There were times where I could have done it, if I'm being honest, but I'm so freaking tired all the time. But as you can probably tell, I am up and at 'em and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and it is July 4th. Exciting stuff. There's a lot to talk about. This little intro video is really just for me to sort of mark the time. The opening video is something that I have to put together right now. It's wild. It's all wild stuff. But I wanted to kind of put this little intro in place. Man, this episode's going to be big. We're going to talk about the Lamar Diggs thing at length. We're going to talk about those Palmetto Creep Patrol assholes. We're going to talk about IWE. We're going to talk about a special feature that I've come up with where I look at individual components of wrestling shows and which leagues in Georgia are doing the best job at them. And what's shocking is it's much more diverse and it's much stranger than you think. But when you focus in on individual components of a wrestling show, there are leagues that are doing better job than anybody who you might not expect. Of course, there's a number of news things to talk about. Of course, this weekend has a number of leagues, including, of course, Southern Honor is going to have a show. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss, but I have to make sure this installation is going well. So I'm going to go do that, and let's get into the rest of Full Disclosure. Special double-sized annual edition. If you grew up with the comic books that I did in my era, that was always a big deal, right? The annual issue would be this double-sized issue. And it would be much more expensive. It would be like $1 instead of 35 cents. I am so old. In any case, I'll see you later. All right. Took a long time to prep the next feature I'm going to do after the unboxing. Had to mull it over a lot, had to talk to a lot of people, but I think you'll find that it was more than worth it. Let's do this unboxing. It's been a couple weeks in coming. Happy July 4th, everybody, by the way. I'll let you see it the same time I see it. Another weird shirt. Master Yoga. Bro. I get the weirdest crap. I appreciate it though. Super weird. Super weird. All right. Let's get into it. Pictures are going to pop up here and there. So I was contacted by Derek McBride. I'm just going to call him Lamar Diggs for the most part for this story. Some of you may have heard about this, and it involves the Palmetto Creep Patrol, which I've talked about previously in reference to Luca Daniels thing and other stuff. Some of you might remember it as the you stare in the abyss stares back into you. I find the Palmetto Creep Patrol, I find their motivation suspect. I find the people who are involved with it at best creepy, and at worst self-aggrandizing to the point of embarrassment. Someone that we know is looking into their claimed non-profit status. I do not like them, and it's likely why Lamar came to me about this. I'm not going to put what he messaged to me directly. I feel like that's kind of an invasion of privacy. I will just say that he contacted me in reference to the Palmetto Creep Patrol, who were going to put out a video about him based on this interaction that he had with this person. I will say this too, that of all the people that I'm going to mention in reference to this story, like William Huckabee, who are warning people off of friending the account that Lamar interacted with that got him into all of this trouble, to Dave, who's a guy who did a video sort of questioning the authenticity of the Palmetto, parts of the Palmetto Creep Patrol video, to Mila, who's gone out of her way to defend Lamar on the Palmetto site. I believe all of those people are good faith actors, meaning that word actor might throw you, meaning they're acting in good faith. I think they're acting with the intention of what they believe. I think William Huckabee really doesn't want wrestlers to get caught up by messaging this person who clearly, Palmetto has said in the past, we don't target wrestlers, we're not going after wrestlers, but this person clearly has friended a ton of wrestlers and seems more than willing to rope them into deep waters as far as conversation and not being appropriate and that kind of thing. Some people have said, like Strychnine, I've never had interactions with them when they were anything but G-rated. Wonderful, but that doesn't mean most people haven't. It doesn't mean that she's not out fishing trying to nail people. I am going to lay out my process in determining the truth of the situation and then let you judge for yourself. Lamar contacted me about this, saying that he was, had this conversation, that they were threatening to expose him, that he didn't do anything wrong. Certainly, he would have been aware that most of the people who watch my videos are wrestling people. He would also have been aware that I didn't particularly care for the Palmetto people, the Palmetto Creep Patrol. And I'd said something about them previously. And my initial take was, yeah, this seemed spurious. And then when Dave Lind came out with that video, sort of questioning, like, why are they doing, if there's this vanish mode conversation that took place, that's where the really inappropriate stuff came out, then why was it filmed by somebody's phone, filming a phone with a phone instead of using screen captures? If that's confusing to you, we're about to now start the timeline of events. Um, and at times I'm going to editorialize about what I think people's thought processes were. So I was contacted and he said, this is unfair. I saw the Dave Lind video and I went, yeah, there's questions that Dave brings up that seem really spurious. A number of people had texted me, basically taking Lamar's side on this, going like, it appears that, those Palmetto Creep Patrol guys who have had stuff taken down by Facebook, and I think justifiably so. Some people say, oh, Facebook's trying to hide pedophiles. First of all, people need to get over their weird obsession with pedophiles and all things related to that. It's creepy and it's weird. Whether it's the QAnonies seeing pedophiles around every corner take, people saying the school systems, they're grooming pedophiles, Disney's... You're all fucking weirdos. And you've all looked into the abyss, and now the abyss has looked into you. And I still hold my contention that the Palmetto Creep Patrol's obsession with this stuff and the way they go about it and the kind of things that they do in pursuit of it are definitely disconcerting. But let's just jump into it. Boom, that's the first thing that's going to pop up, and then it's just going to switch when it's appropriate. As I go through and edit this video, I'm not going to continually reference the next picture. I'm just going to talk about it. And here we go. So, Alexis Crawford, it's the account that William Huckabee is warning people off of. I think based on this alone, that if you take no bit of advice from this entire portion of the video, take this one. Yeah, I would have nothing to do with this. Again, this is somebody who's looking to start some shit, right? So Alexis apparently poked Lamar. You poking me? Is his response. Yeah, I poked you. Why? So that took place over the course of a great... So Lamar goes, you poking me, and Alexis doesn't respond until many hours later. And then he responds right away, why? So one thing is clear. He is usually right next to his phone, right? And then later on, the next day, why not? Okay. You can handle it, Mr. Wrestler. These are his screen captures, by the way. Yeah. You can handle it, Mr. Wrestler. And he goes, huh? Oh, so you're going to message me and delete it and make me look crazy for responding to you and you have no idea what I'm referring to? I didn't delete none. And I sent you an okay a week ago. Well, I just got my phone back. LOL, I was grounded. Okay, said she was grounded. Let's make this clear. Is there anything inappropriate so far? No. Would I describe this as potentially sexually charged conversation? Yeah, the poking thing, but whatever. I really can't pass judgment on that. But anybody who wants to deny that there wasn't some hint of a flirtation thing there, okay, you can continue to live in denial, but let's say that. And again, nobody knows each other's age at this point. So it is what it is. But once you say I got my phone back, LOL, I was grounded. Grounded would seem to indicate I live under the auspices and control of my parents, and I am not a grown-up. Would it not? Just saying. I'm just throwing these things out there so people who want to take one hardline stance or another can be honest with themselves, if not to me. Okay? So once you hear I was grounded, and he says, okay, you too old to be grounded. By the way, look at how he's speaking. He shortens words. He uses numbers for words, etc., etc. This will become important later on. I know, right? By the way, yeah. Once you hear grounded, age should already be a suspicious thing. But at the very best case for Lamar, Derek, he's a dumb shit. Can we agree on that? At the very best case scenario is he's a dumb shit and has incredibly bad judgment. That's best case scenario. How you get grounded? I have a smart mouth, I guess. Okay. Ha ha ha. Thought you was a Nigerian scammer for a second. LMAO, I thought you were 2. Wrong version of 2. My God. How? Well, let's be real. If any of us would be mistaken as a Nigerian, they'd point at you first. No offense. LOL. Well, Elon Musk is African, so who dat? Don't know who Elon Musk is. Richest man in the world? Google him. Oh, that faggot. Oh, Alexis. Alexis. That's troubling, is it not? Can we agree that Alexis, or whoever's posing as Alexis, or whatever the fuck this is with this account, horrible. Baiting somebody into getting into a conversation, saying such things, it's horrible. Best case scenario for Palmetto for posting this and pursuing this is they are awfully, awfully creepy and seem to really get off on this part of the gig. Not the results of catching people, but just getting off on this part of the gig. It's fucking weird and problematic. Lol, why he gotta be all that? The whole world stopped because he buy Twitter. LOL, so the fuck what? I thought you didn't know who Elon Musk was. God, dumb shits abound. That doesn't make him a faggot, though. Not his fault the world's stupid. You must know him. Yeah, he's my gardener. Now, we both know you ain't got a garden. I do. I trim a bush every now and then. Ha ha ha. LOL. I'm just saying. You got to keep your bushes trimmed. So that conversation was happening. Could you describe that as a sexually charged joke? Probably. And anybody who wants to deny that, you're an idiot. Lamar at this point, Derek, did he know how old Alexis was supposed to be? No. He did not. So that could be excusable, though she did mention that she was grounded, which would certainly imply somebody who lives under the auspices of their parent and is probably a minor. Does it not? Be honest with yourself. She goes, well, so how old are you, if I may ask? Oh, yeah, that's something a 14-year-old would definitely say, may I ask? 3.5. Lol, you looks but older than that, at least 5. Okay, I'm 7. How old do I look? I'd say about 29. He goes 35, because he gets to brag. Nice, you look good for 35. Your turn to guess my age. 21. Really? You thought she was 21? That's a cover your ass number in my world, but whatever. He says 21. Psh, I wish. I'm 14. Oh. Yeah, is that okay? No. Oh. Not professional to talk to underage people. Even fans could be misconstrued. I get it, but I'm not trying to get you in any trouble. Obvious baiting, obvious let's keep him in the conversation. Obvious Alexis is like, we got to make this sale. I got to keep him in the conversation. I got to keep him going. Creepy, weird. Would this hold up in court? Of course not, but we're not talking about court. We're talking about what is and what is not. At this point, as soon as he says, oh, and it's not okay that she's 14, what should he do? Of course, stop the conversation entirely. Does he do that? He does not. Is that a crime that he doesn't? Of course it isn't. But it shows, again, best case scenario, he's a dumb shit with incredibly bad judgment. Let's make that clear. That's understandable, but I don't leave room for error like that. We can conversate, but keep it cordial. I don't think that word means what he thinks it means. But whatever. Okay, that's fine. She's kept him in the sale. She's kept him on the hook. Yeah. What are you up to? PS5. Cool. My grandma won't buy me one. PS5 is for adults. I'm close enough. Nope. And how do you know? Almost doesn't count. She goes like this. Yep. Let me get your PS5. Now they're flirting back and forth, right? Sometimes they go 12 hours without the next line in this conversation. It's a normal thing for them to have conversations that seem like they're linear and close together, but they actually happen over the course of hours or even days. This is also an important detail in this story. Let me get your PS5. Nope. Stingy. Yep. That's May 14th. A month and a half later, on June 27th, he contacts her. Let me make that clear. He contacts her. When I pointed this out to him, he said, "Oh no, that's a message I sent out to get views. I sent it to half my friends." How do you even do that, first of all? But you sent it to half your friends. Because he realized in the midst of messaging me, I would say, that, well, then why didn't I get it? What, if you're going to send wrestling clips to people, you wouldn't send it to somebody who, one, is guaranteed to watch it in me, and two, may even highlight it in a video of mine. But you send it to Alexis, who you hadn't talked to in a month and a half. Okay. So he sends her this clip, which gets a conversation going. June 27th. I'm going to look to see what day of the week that was. That was a Monday. Why am I looking that up? Because she didn't respond until that Thursday. See what I'm saying? So she didn't even respond right away. Why'd you do him like that? I don't know. Friday morning. LOL, someone gonna get you like that? Never, he says. Shit, I slam you like that. 2 hours later. Lies. Lol, I've slammed people before. Wait till I get trained. I'm not a kid. By the time you get trained, I'll be retired. I'm starting training next year. You might want to retire now. You ain't old enough. Apparently I am. I ain't never scared, she sends. That is Friday at 2:39 p.m. The next day at 2 in the morning, this is Alexis's brother. I saw all your messages, even the ones you thought disappeared. We have them saved and we're gonna expose your ass. So what happened between Friday at 2:39 p.m. and 2 in the morning on Saturday? Well, what happened was this.
Dagger, big maker, 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 big maker.
What is that? That is a conversation that supposedly happened between this Alexis account and Lamar/Derek that he had in vanish mode, meaning the messages would disappear in a short amount of time, thus making it so it was harder to have evidence of this conversation. These texts or these messages took place between like 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. And then 5 hours later is when Alexis's brother sent that message saying they were going to expose him. The premise of Derek/Lamar is that these conversations were faked. And people even put out videos trying to prove that they were faked, because they noted that these screen captures weren't really screen captures in the traditional sense, but somebody with a phone filming or recording the conversation from another phone. And all that's true. I think Dave's video highlights that, and he did a great job showing that. Which begs the question, why would they do it that way? Lamar, for his part, says, I was at Impact tapings, and I was doing stuff at the time that these conversations took place. But these conversations stretched over a 2 to 3 hour period. Conversations highlighted in that Palmetto Creep video, right? Here's what I believe happened. So, I Ain't Never Scared happened at 2:39 p.m. on Friday. Friday night, Lamar initiated a conversation, put it in vanish mode. Initially had it in vanish mode where the messages would disappear in 5 seconds. At some point, Alexis or whoever was having this conversation with him tried to screenshot but could not. This might seem strange to people, but things like Snapchat and vanish mode were designed that you could not screenshot them. That doesn't mean it's impossible. That doesn't mean that newer technology hasn't overcome this. This doesn't mean that you can't have apps that get around this kind of thing. But I run into this all the time, whether through my laptop or through my phone. There are some things that I simply cannot take a screen capture of for whatever reason. And this was likely the case for Alexis or whoever was taking these pictures. So, Steve, what is your evidence? What is your proof that this vanish mode conversation really took place? One, I'm just going to present different bits of evidence. Here's one. So is the premise that these Palmetto Creep Patrol guys, or Alexis and whoever, faked this vanish conversation because they didn't really have anything on him? And if so, when did they fake it? Well, either you're saying they faked it during the time where they actually were supposed to have this conversation, or they faked it after Alexis's brother sent the message at 2 in the morning where he mentioned even the ones you thought disappeared. Is the premise that he said that, setting up the notion that they would fake this vanished conversation? That doesn't make sense. Or that they faked a conversation to nab him between 2:39 p.m. and 2 a.m. Okay, I guess that is the premise, that they faked this vanished conversation when they had clearly given up the notion on talking to him. Well, Steve, what other bits of evidence are there? How about the fact that Derek definitely did have a conversation with this Alexis account in vanish mode, that he initiated the vanish mode? Lots of people saw the Palmetto video, but what they might not have seen is the video that they put up in the comments section of the video about Lamar/Derek. Derek sent me this, right? Look, just be honest, then we'll take that video down. You seem like you have a lot going on for you, and you just got caught up. You're sweet talking. Do what you want, man. If you can admit to me here that that was you, the video goes down, no questions asked. The whole reason why we do this is because we also have kids to protect. My daughter was molested by a family member when she was young, and I'll be damned if I see any other kid get hurt. That's why we do what we do. If you admit to me it was you, I'll take the video down. Simple. I'm good, do you. This is him feeling defiant. Derek and Lamar feeling like he's going to get away with it. But he's showing him this thing about the vanish mode. Then they go, starting to see a trend here with these wrestlers. Have a good day, sick ass. Post your shit or leave me the fuck alone. And he goes, sick fuck. And he hearted his comments. Again, these Palmetto guys are super creepy. They're super creepy. And, you know, this whole backstory of, like, my daughter was molested by a family member. Again, I have no doubt that they feel like they are fully justified in whatever they do, which is why so many things come across so badly. I think it's why Facebook tends to take a lot of their stuff down. It's because it's spurious, and it could open up to all kinds of possibilities of innocent people getting nabbed and bad things happening. That does not mean that I think Derek/Lamar is innocent. Because look at this. This is a screen capture, a legitimate screen capture of Derek's profile as they see it from the Alexis account. Messages and calls are secured with end-to-end encryption. Derek turned on disappearing messages. All new messages will be removed 10 seconds after you've seen them. Change. Derek changed disappearing messages. All new messages will now be removed 5 seconds after you've seen them. So Derek set this thing up in vanish mode, changed it to 5 seconds. That way it would be on screen as little as possible. Then Derek changed it back to 10 seconds and then eventually took away it altogether. Why would he move it from 5 to 10 seconds? That doesn't make sense. Or doesn't it? Because if you look at the Palmetto Creep Patrol video where they show the vanishing conversation, you'll notice most of the conversation that they captured happened 7 seconds in the message appearing. In other words, all of a sudden they were having this conversation with Derek that was very sexually charged. And it is incredibly sexually charged. And they realized they had to capture it. But perhaps they tried a screenshot and it didn't work because, again, that's what vanish mode and Snapchat are designed to do. And they realized they had to capture it in another way. And they only had seconds to act. So the first thing was to talk him into changing it from 5 to 10. Probably by saying something like, oh, I missed that last message. It disappeared before I could see it. So he moved it to 10 seconds, which now gave them time to play it on one phone and take the picture with the other. You'll notice there are parts of that conversation that are missing. I would argue that that's when it was in that 5-second disappear mode. But once it was in the 10-second disappear mode, they could capture it, and so they did. Do I believe that is really Derek talking? Some people have said, no, his language and diction completely changed. Yeah, to sounding much more like he usually sounds. The conversations in the vanish mode sound more like Derek than the haughty pretense he was putting on at the beginning of the conversation that we all saw. I'm just saying. There's this notion that Derek has nothing to do with Union City, because that came up in the conversation, but he does. So that's bogus. This idea that he was at the Impact tapings, and there's no way that he would have arranged for something to happen on a Saturday when he couldn't have gotten away. Everybody who's been to wrestling tapings, especially Impact-related ones, knows that that's bullshit. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. You get there, and there's big blocks of time where you ain't doing shit. And what do people have time to do, especially people nowadays? Get on their fucking phones. I'm supposed to believe he did not have time to get on the phone. Now, I believe that he had stuff to do, which is why the conversation took as long as it did. It took a conversation that could take place in freaking 3 minutes, went over the course of 2.5 hours. I believe that because it's like, I'm doing stuff here, I'm doing stuff there. I can only message every so often. Do I have any other bits of evidence? Yeah, and this one's kind of spurious, and this is kind of Derek/Lamar shooting himself in the foot. You see, there's this. In addition to the 10 screen captures of the initial chat conversation with Alexis that he sent me an 11th one, which was, I guess, supposed to show me that he really did chat with Alexis and got that message at 1:52 a.m. This is Alexis' brother. I saw you see it there. What do you see above that? So an hour after Derek/Lamar was told he was going to be exposed, about an hour after, a little bit more, he messages Mika Vilas. We all love Mika. She's a big advocate for the boys. So he sends her 10 pictures. He sent me 11, including this one. She didn't get this 11th one, but she got the 10, right? So he immediately enlisted her to help, and help she did. She is on that Palmetto Creep Patrol flank going, this is fake, this is fake, this is fake. And then everybody's favorite, C. Nick, jumps in, helping nothing, saying this is a deep fake in order to blah, 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 blah. Well, Mika and C. Nick, you're wrong. And I'll tell you one of the other bits of evidence that I have. You see, by sending me this, other places that you can see on here, right? Tyreek Robinson, he's asking, do you have a spare something, blah, 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 blah. Here's what's interesting to me. Robin Williamson and Lamar/Derek is messaging, because it's you, right? It's him, you. I'll bring your edibles if you... Why is this notable? At 11:24 p.m. Got edibles on the mind. Where else have I seen the mention of edibles out of nowhere? In the midst of that vanish conversation. Mighty big coincidence. Mighty big coincidence that they go to the edibles thing, and then he brings it up here in this conversation as well. So the timeline, he gets busted at 1:52 a.m. for the vanish conversation that this is going under the premise that it happened as it appears. This vanish conversation happened from 6 p.m. until about 9:30 p.m. A couple hours later, he talks about edibles as he did in the vanish conversation. At 2 a.m., he gets called out. At 3:20 a.m., he enlists Mika as quickly as he can, and in the morning, he enlists me and other people. Huckabee just takes the simple premise that he knew was the safest and smartest, which was, Y'all need to stay away from Alexis Crawford. She's just trying to nab wrestlers, which appears to be the case. So Palmetto's thing of like, we're not going after wrestlers is clearly on some level complete and utter bullshit, as we always knew it was. Derek Lamar. She initiated the poke. He started the conversation. She told him eventually, by hook or by crook, that she was 14. He didn't immediately cut her off then. He had made a sexually charged joke earlier before he knew her age. Then he continued the conversation saying, but we need to be cordial. At that point, the conversation ends. A month and a half later, he contacts her and initiates a conversation. His story being, I sent that to a bunch of people. But nobody forced him to continue a conversation, even if what he's saying is true, which it isn't. They have a conversation about wrestling. Then that ends. Then he's at the Impact tapings. He's at the location, and he starts messaging her. He puts on vanish mode. There's no denying he did that. When I asked him, now here's the parts that I followed up with. First question I asked him, did you use vanish mode in the conversation? He went, no. And he said, that's just something that shows up. And then he took a screen capture of my Facebook thing, which proved their point, not his, because neither he nor I have ever engaged in vanish mode, so there was nothing there about it. So he proved nothing. And in fact, he proved the fact that, yeah, he engaged in vanish. So is his premise that they faked this as well? Because they've shown it on multiple formats. Legitimate screen captures, video captures, as well as the phone-to-phone, have all shown that he did this vanish mode, that he had it at 10 seconds, switched it to 5, and then switched it back to 10. All of which lines up with the timeline that they posted that showed when the conversation took place, when he was at the Impact tapings. A conversation that should have been short, but took a great deal of time because he was doing stuff, obviously, in between certain parts of the conversation. Again, it doesn't help his case that he was at the Impact tapings. It hurts them because it means that he messaged when he had downtime. Is it possible that the vanish mode conversations are faked? Possible, as in less than 1%. Do you really think the Palmetto Creep Patrol guys faked a vanish conversation instead of what it looks to be, Occam's razor, the simplest answer is usually the correct one. Why are they filming phone to phone? Because they weren't able to screen capture. Why were they not able to screen capture? Because it's in vanish mode. But they wanted to get it, so they did it in the fastest way possible, and they had 10 seconds to figure it out. Doesn't that seem much more likely than they faked an entire vanish conversation and then decided to record it phone to phone in order so it would look worse? What? Derek's explanation ended up going into the realm of, well, why would I use my account? Why wouldn't I use this fake account that I have? I don't know. I bet you wish you did. But you didn't. And it wasn't the place where you were initially poked in the first place. You were poked and found out because you were a wrestler. And that's where the conversation took place. Right? Do I think that William Huckabee is a bad actor in this situation? Not at all. I think he's out to protect the boys, and he correctly sees this Alexis account is set up to get people caught up. And that's absolutely true, and he's absolutely right for calling it out, and I commend him for it. Do I think that Mila's a bad actress in this? Not at all. I think she's trying to defend the boys, and she sees it like this is obvious fake bullshit, and I'm going after it. I bet she feels differently now. See, Nick, he's a fucking clout chaser. So I think he jumped on this thing and he said, this is a deep fake and blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest with ourselves. Based on what I have laid out in front of you, at Derek's request, keep this in mind. He wanted me to look into it because he thought I'm just going to go after these Palmetto people blindly. But I didn't. I made sure I got my facts straight. I had a conversation with Dave, who made that video. Very nice dude. Who, again, another guy who was just trying to protect a guy he thought was worth protecting. And maybe you still feel like Derek is somehow in the right in this. I do not. What do I think of Palmetto Creep Patrol? I think if they never initiated this thing, it never would have happened. I don't think Derek engages in this kind of behavior all the time or ever has. That it was a unique set of circumstances that the Palmetto Creep Patrol guys and in this Alexis account made happen that would not have happened otherwise if not for them initiating the conversation. What I am most upset about is that Derek and Lamar enlisted the aid of a number of good-intentioned people to defend him, to defend a lie. There is no doubt that Derek used vanish mode when he was conversing with the Alexis account and now denies that he ever did. That's a lie. And if nothing else, he is at best a dumb shit with bad judgment who lied about that point. Period. Do I feel, based on a number of circumstantial things, that Derek had that vanished conversation with Alexis about getting a blowjob? Yes. Do I think it's creepy that Alexis told that story about the cousin basically making her give him a blowjob? Do I think it's creepy the extent at which the Palmetto guys go about trying to fish and catch people? That even when people say like, oh, you're underage, I don't want this conversation anymore, that they do their level best to hook them and drag them back into the conversation to try to rope them into something? Yes, as I said in the other video, you look into the abyss, it looks back into you. I think it's creepy. I think it's bad. I think it's weird. Two things can be true, as a good friend of mine says. And Palmetto Creep Patrol can be scumbags, and they're in full crusader mode of we are justified in everything we do and how we do it because we think our ends are noble, even though they're not nearly as noble as they think, and they're not doing the good that they think they're doing. But that doesn't mean Derek is in the right. He most certainly is not. And the fact that he's enlisting good people to help him perpetrate his lie is disgusting in my view. Now, you may disagree with me. Derek might have umbrage with what I've said. But it is incredibly clear to me that at the very least, Derek has lied about multiple things because he's embarrassed and he doesn't want to get caught up. GIPW dropped him, and my initial thought was, oh, they might be acting too quickly. I went into this thing this morning with the intent of, I'm going after these Palmetto guys. But when I lined things up and I talked to people and I asked questions, I'm left with the conclusion that I've laid out for you. No, I don't think they faked an entire Vanish conversation. Yes, I understand why they filmed it the way that they did and that it looks shitty, but that they felt that they had to do it that way because of the nature of the disappearing conversation. I don't think any of the defenses that Derek Lamar or the people who are advocating for him have put forth haven't been completely destroyed and disproven. And I have conversations, even with Dave Lynn, who made the video, and other people, and laid out what I had found. And the conclusion from all of us is the same. Take that as you will. And keep in mind, this isn't me going after anybody. I was asked to look into this for the purpose of going after Palmetto Creep Patrol. I just did the due diligence and applied some logic and asked some questions of the principals involved. And that is what I've presented to you. Do I think that Palmetto Creep Patrol in general deserves to have that site shut down? Probably. If nothing else, I mean, their stuff seems so spurious. They don't seem to have a great moral compass themselves. And I believe that they kind of get off on what they're doing in a way that is definitely showing that the abyss has looked back into them. My opinion. Do I think Derek did get caught up in this thing? And yes. And do I think he's a victim of his own bad judgment? Yes. Do I think that this would have happened if not for this Alexis account pushing the narrative so hard? No. But do I think that he's wearing a white hat and he's a hapless victim in this and a victim of somebody faking something? No. And so it goes. Woo! Last 2 weeks, I think Southern States is the most exciting thing going on. The Pro-South reports are awesome. All the people chiming in. Larry's top 12 wrestlers in Georgia that he puts out quarterly now. I started doing those P lists, but I think Larry has taken the top 10 wrestlers thing, and it's the gold standard. So I wouldn't even try, honestly, to put it up against Larry's. But for this, because this is a special double-sized, I mean, let me take a look, because this is the end part of the video. Yeah, the shit's 57 minutes long already, right? So this is going to push it well over an hour. I think it's safe to say, calling this a double-sized episode of Full Disclosure, I have lived up to that. I wanted to do a really cool feature here, which is to look at individual components of a wrestling show and determine who's the best at them. And then to assign who rules. You know, they're about to have this prequel to Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones is one of those series that I absolutely fell in love with. But like many people, the last season, really the last 2 seasons, but that last season really took the wind out of my sails as far as excitement and enjoyment of the series overall. They've been showing entire seasons of Game of Thrones in preparation for this prequel that's coming out. And so, you know, when I'm at home, I'm usually exhausted. I know this is a familiar song by now. Like, you know, I'm tired because I work a lot of jobs, and it's affected, you know, my Patreon. Though I think I have a very viable solution. Platinum pinfalls are very hard for me to do every single day. I've done the prep work, but then just getting them done is very difficult and time consuming. So I thought of an adequate solution and a really cool thing to have on my Patreon. So that way I can post to the Patreon directly from wherever I am, and not restrict myself to a format. But that's for the people on my Patreon to know. Please feel free to sign up. It is very much appreciated. But I wanted to do a cool feature here. And that is because this Game of Thrones thing got me thinking, like, not only which leagues are doing the best job with individual things, but who rules North Georgia and West Georgia and East Georgia and Central Georgia and South Georgia? Who are the number 1 promotions in those particular areas? Who's got the kingdoms? Who's the Lannisters, right? Who's the Starks? Who's the Tyrells? Like, who rules the individual kingdoms? You ready to get into this shit? I'm not going to put up any graphics. That way I can get this done, get this video put together, and get it put up before I go to work. Yes, I work from 7 until about midnight at one job, and then I'll work from midnight until 7 in the morning. I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow morning, but I'm going to hang out with the kids until I repeat things and work from 4:30 till 10, and then from 10 until 7 in the morning. It is what it is, right? I work. Awesome. Who's got the best men's division in Georgia wrestling? This is I put the ultimate cop out right here at the top, because it is a different strokes for different folks kind of thing. So I'm going to list the multiple leagues who qualify alphabetically. Action wrestling, I don't think there's any denying that bell to bell they still rule the roost. Though I would say another league comes incredibly close, and we'll talk about them as well, because there's 6 leagues I would put under best men's division. And I decided this based on who is their champion, who is in their title picture, who is developing wrestlers to move up the card, and who's got wrestlers that are able to perform like intricate angles as well. Action wrestling most certainly qualified. Alphabetically, Anarchy wrestling, I think, does a really good job, not necessarily with the bell to bell as much as the sort of angle completion, and they have the best like division that's of guys that are improving to get to the main event, so they make the list as well. Then I would put alphabetically IWE. I'm there hands-on, and the development of guys, like the heavy featuring of Carly Bravo, and guys like AC Mack, who wrestle in a number of places, they also ply their trade there, along with Cruel, and Joe Black, the champion, who has matches with guys like Anthony Henry. You got Hammerstone there. Their men's division is startling, and it also has guys at a strong mid-card base, a fabulous main event base. I mean, at this show on Saturday, you've got Joe Black against Slim J. It is such an interesting contrast of who's huge now and who once was huge, clashing against each other. National level stars mixing with the guys who tend to be Southern based or Georgia based. It's a great division. Fourth, I'd put Southern Honor there. Most definitely. If you look at Larry's top 12 list, Southern Honor features more of those guys than anybody else. That's just a stone cold fact. And they've really given prominent rise and attention to guys like Owen Knight. But they too have guys like Joe Black and Cruel in their main event picture. What can you say? They also prominently featured David Ali when he was around. Super cool. Super cool. And they have the advantage of having Gunnar Miller ply his trade there and only there. And I think he's one of those guys that's incredibly special. And it gives them a little bit of a different flavor. Southern Fried I would also put there in the top 6. They should have gone before Southern Honor alphabetically. You'll live. Southern Fried, I think more quietly, has a great men's division. They also have great stories and people that they have developed. When you got guys like Todd and any number of the bookers of the years and mentors of the years who ply their trade there, you're going to develop a lot of guys. And Southern Fried has done a fantastic job of that. And then finally, I'm going to put Terminus there. I think Terminus's men's division rivals anybody's. Now, I'm going to give honorable mention to Southern States. They're very new, so it's hard to really say, but so far, so great. I'll say that. So that's your best men's division. In alphabetical order, not in order of who does the better job. I think they all do almost equally great jobs in different ways. Action, Anarchy, IWE, Southern Fried, Southern Honor, and Terminus. Who's the top drawing promotion? It's Mucha Lucha. And it's obvious, but it needs to be said, because when people get in these discussions, or when KLT has the fucking balls to try to claim that they're the number one promotion, under no circumstance are they the number one promotion. Certainly not in terms of numbers. Because even if you took Mucha Lucha out of the conversation, which we will just for the point of argument, it's Southern Honor, right? They outdraw them, and they make more money than they do. But once you put Mucha Lucha in the conversation, which you have to, there's no comparison, everybody. They drew 1,200 people at their last show. Even a lowball estimate of that gate puts it at $60,000. That is an incredible lowball estimate. It's probably closer to 100,000. Let me say that again. Lowball estimate. That's just taking 1,200 and multiplying it by their general admission ticket. Keep in mind that their first row, which is like 1 trillion seats, their second row, which is more, their third row, they're charging 190 and 80. And offset by other promotions where kids a certain age and under get in for free. Kids a certain age and under at Mucha Lucha get in for $25. That's more than most people charge for their top general admission. And they're getting that for their cheapest ticket. Plus they sell merch. I guarantee you, not only do they way outsell everybody else in general as a raw number, per capita they get way more per person. And they've got 1,200 motherfuckers running in there. So Mucha Lucha is the top drawing promotion by a million miles. I don't want to hear it. If you want to exclude them from the conversation, which I find to be really stupid, then fine, it's Southern Honor. Nobody else can claim anything close. But there's a difference between top drawing and most growing, right? We're going to get into that in a bit. Growing promotions, I guess we're going to get into it right now. Your growing promotions are Terminus. I think in terms of, they continue to sell out, but I think there's this groundswell behind them. And I think Gresham will be served, like he tried that experiment with that other kind of show that just seemed boring as shit and people didn't really want to watch. I think if he focuses on Terminus and just gets that really on its feet and going, the sky is the limit. It's the kind of promotion I could imagine getting snatched up by somebody else as well. So I'm going to put that on the growing promotion list. IWE is obvious. When I first started going there, they weren't drawing 200. Now they've exceeded 300. And at this show, I'd expect them to do just as well. Even though it's summertime when everybody else is dipping, they continue to grow and get bigger. And it's a very volatile crowd. And then Mucha Lucha. I mean, they were drawing 1,000, now they're drawing 1,200, and they're charging more than ever. There are other promotions that do well. I think Southern Fried does well. I think Anarchy does well. I think Southern Honor does well. But are they growing? No. That doesn't mean they don't have individual shows that don't do very well. They do. But they're not growing. You don't get this feeling of steady growth like you do with IWE, Terminus, Mucha Lucha. And again, something like Southern States, it's hard to say because they've only had one official show. The fans are into it. You know which ones the fans are into? And I don't think this is a coincidence. It's the ones that have the best men's division plus Mucha Lucha. So Action, Anarchy, IWE, Southern Fried, Southern Honor, Terminus, and Mucha Lucha. Those are the ones where the fans are the most fanatical. This used to be a really easy call, by the way. This used to be it's Peach State. But now there are other leagues that have that. I think IWE is sort of inherited sort of the lunatic fringe kind of fan. I think Action has the fans that are super invested in what they do. I think Southern Honor, it is an event-based wrestling show on par with Mucha Lucha. I think people come there to they tailgate, they hang out, they love Southern Honor, they're devoted to Southern Honor. And they get all credit for that. I think Gary gets most of that credit. He's done a great job of fostering an event-like atmosphere, and that is incredibly impressive. And they get fan reactions based on that, and they educate their fans to accept different things and bring them along for the ride. I think that's a sign of a very healthy promotion. Southern Fried, those people have stuck with them, and those people love what goes on there, and there's no doubt about it. I look at the Southern Fried fan page, and I sometimes get annoyed at their fans, but you know what? Dedicated, devoted fans are annoying. So it's a sign of actually how healthy they are. Terminus, those people are into that shit. They have bought it hook, line, and sinker. It reminds me of the early days of Ring of Honor. IWE, like I said, they've got the lunatic fringe fans as well as the devoted we're always going to come here fans. And it's growing and it's growing and it's growing. Anarchy, those people are so happy to see great wrestling, and they're into what has done. They have transitioned. Rick Michaels and Matt Hankins have successfully transitioned that place into accepting a different kind of demographic as far as who's wrestling and the different kind of stories that they're telling. It's much more PCW-esque than it ever has been, and that fan base loves them for it. Yeah. Best gimmick match. You might think that I'm going to say War Games, because there are a number of leagues that do that or have done that, but it's the Rumble Jack by a mile. It's the only gimmick match that's a guaranteed extra draw, just in and of itself. When does it take place? I believe it takes place in August, and Dylan deserves full credit for that thing. You know how much I loathe the Battle Royal, and I loathe the Battle Royal that follows the Royal Rumble premise most of all. But Dylan has booked that thing to the point where it is, you cannot, if you are a Southern Honor fan, there are two shows that you have to see, and it's the anniversary show, and it is the Rumble Jack, and he deserves full credit for that. Rumble Jack is the best gimmick match going on in the state of Georgia. If you don't like me saying that, then prove me wrong and come up with a better one that proves to be must see and a draw in and of itself. Most improved locker room also goes to Southern Honor. There's a time where I sort of derided them as a very split and divided locker room, and I was right. But that is no longer the case, and it's a number of factors that have changed that, and I want to acknowledge that. But what's the best locker rooms overall? This might surprise some people. It's Anarchy and it's PCW. PCW has a great atmosphere. Of course, I'm biased because I get to hear about it so much. And I get to hear about Anarchy's locker room a lot. But that's the boys telling me what are the locker rooms they enjoy being in the most. And Anarchy and PCW are the two that are mentioned to me more than any other. Best women's division or women wrestling representation is IWE, and it's not even close. They're the only one to have a women's title that matters. They're the only ones who always feature a match between two prominent female wrestlers. And anybody who runs promotions will tell you how impossible it is to get women on a card on a regular basis, but they always do it at IWE. And if you look at the list of their champions, whether it's Amber Nova, right, or it's Danny Jordan, or it's who they have now, like, they always have incredibly strong female wrestling talent. People who go on to get... Santino Marella's daughter is there, and then she gets signed by the WWE a month or two later. I mean, that's what you're dealing with. Layla Gray is there, and now it looks like she's in AEW. Like, that's who they bring in. They bring in people from the outside to work with the locals that they can get on the regular. And Lindsay Snow, she's wrestling again. She's their champion. And she's wrestling somebody from the outside. I mean, it's the best women's division. There isn't even a close second choice. Period. Best tag team division is also IWE. When you look at, they have two prominent tag matches happening right now. They split up one of their top tag teams in the Ugly Ducklings, and they still have the strongest tag team division where they can have two tag matches of great note, one for number one contenders and one for the championship, right? You got Southern Strong Styles there, along with All-Star Special, right? Along with Exotic Youth, and along with tag teams that they've built up. There was a time where I think Southern Honor had a really strong tag division, but then shit fell apart. It's not their fault. It's not their fault that the Lynches no-showed and threw them in disarray, but you can't just claim to have the best anything. You have to have it. And right now, IWE has the best tag team division. If you disagree with this, please let me know who does and how consistently they book a strong tag division. Every show? Not really. And now, Who rules Central Georgia? You can make an argument for Mucha Lucha, certainly. You can make an argument for Terminus. But I'm going to go ahead and put the motherfucking crown on Southern States. That's how strong I think their show was, the Combine, and how strong their first show is. And the premise of the league is really great. I think the premise of the league is now marketable. I think they can take Southern States to other places. I think they can take Southern States to West Georgia and try to take that crown as well. I love the premise. I love how excited they are. I love how they validate the boys. And the strange thing is, it's like they're doing something different by not doing something so incredibly different. The league does not feel like a gimmick. It feels permanent in a way that AWE never did. So I'm going to give them the crown in Central Georgia. About North Georgia, it's Southern Honor. And again, people want to quibble about what's north, south, east, west. Fuck you. I look at a map, I divided it up, and then I found the best promotion within that space. You want to quibble? Fuck your mother. All right? North Georgia is Southern Honor territory. Canton, Georgia's up there, and they rule it. West, Tyrone is westish, so Action gets it. Action is taken over, and they're really making... They're almost as good as they say they are. And that's really good. You know, Matt Griffin. They are almost as influential and powerful as they have purported to be for 2 years. But they're almost there. And they certainly rule West Georgia. They rule it with an iron fist. What about the South? South Georgia has been much maligned for a very long time. I'm going to give it to Deep South Wrestling. Not only do they got the school that's doing good shit, those shows are good shit. People are excited. I almost put them on a couple of the other lists. Deep South, Nick Patrick is doing a great job, and the wrestlers are excited and their fans are excited. And so they rule South Georgia. Now, it was a weak area, and they went in there and just kicked everybody's face in. But sometimes that's what it takes to be the king. And East, dude, it's IWE. And I'm going to be there on Saturday. Congratulations to the leagues that I named. If you disagree, whatever, comment below. Otherwise, this has been Full Disclosure 169 and 170, a special double-sized episode. Hopefully we won't have to do it like this again, but I think you'll agree this was a pretty weighty episode. And now, let me put this bitch together so I can get it up before I go to work. This has been Full Disclosure.